Sort of yeah, 11 or anyway, so we have no exactly. So we have they seem great. And you? She's already oh, we've never used it. Yeah. No. I use different. I always grapes. Yeah, exactly. Where these are really tough ones. He's already president.
I gotta give him a hard time.
My son's going to Seattle after this. My son goes to West Seattle.
Oh, she's on her way.
Thursday, October 4th, ordered.
Councilmember Ken Daughtry.
Here.
Mayor Leonard Kelly.
Here.
Mayor John Nearing.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Nigel is excused. Labor Representative Lance Norton.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Ryan.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Schweddy.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Todd.
Here.
And Councilmember Stephanie Wright.
Perfect.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to report that I'm here also.
Mayor Dave Early.
That's for last, right?
I did.
Dave comes with the building, so.
So, moving on with the agenda, we have quite a few people signing up for public comment. So we have some service awards and Safety Star awards, and I would like to move ahead and do those first under presentation, public comments, or people that are here just for the award session can get their awards. If they, of course, you hang around and listen to public comment, you're more than welcome. But I think I'm going to move right to presentations, into public comment.
Thank you. It's first order of business. I'd like to invite Colleen Bauman to introduce the latest staff addition to the Transportation Department.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I would like to introduce Jim Williams, the new manager of Transportation Operations. He describes himself as passionate about transportation. He served in the Army as a transportation officer and then worked in the heavy equipment industry as operations manager for Recology Cleanscapes. And I'm very excited to have him join the committee, or join the team. Jim?
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm very excited to be introduced as the manager of transportation. My passion for transportation was developed by the U.S. Army, where I served almost 10 years. During that time, I received my undergraduate degree from Central Washington University, and soon after my commission as a transportation officer. I deployed twice to Iraq as a transportation officer for the 1st Cavalry Division, and upon the completion of my active duty service, I accepted a position as a manager for Recology Cleanscapes, where I was for the last 9 years, 6 months. It's been a pleasure meeting some of you. I look forward to meeting the rest of you, and I hope you have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure this afternoon to introduce another absolutely delightful friend and colleague from our agency, who's celebrating 20 years of service with Community Transit. Please welcome Chuck Calendine. Welcome. So I know Chuck, I've known him for a long time. I thought I knew him pretty well. We lived together out in Arlington, bumped into each other once in a while. I never knew he worked on a cattle ranch. Cattle rancher, how again? Florida Gator. I would have thought after so many years out here, we would have converted him from Gatorville to UW or maybe WSU. I don't know. That was the surprise. So a short story. I came up the back stairs the other day, walked by Sam Brotman's office, and there were 4 schedule analysts sitting in there. And I thought, oh, a schedule analyst cool. Actually, I think that's what Sam said. And I asked if I could join. Anyway, I knew that Sam had been a former coach operator. I knew that Scott Riverbush, who was there, was a former coach operator. I knew Chuck was a former coach operator. I wasn't sure about Michael, but I asked him. I didn't know he came to us from Pierce Transit, where he had been a coach operator. At which point I thought of Lance Norton, and how often Lance's advice is, you ought to have those schedule analysts go get some information from coach operators. And I thought, really, how wonderful it was that 3 out of the 4 out of the 4 really, had served as coach operators, educated themselves in the field, and been promoted to serve as schedule analysts at their agencies. Chuck's been here 20 years, 7 years as a coach operator, last 3 years as a schedule analyst. His colleagues describe him in a variety of really fond ways. I picked out True Gentleman, which is one that I personally experience every time I interact with Chuck. I know he's an avid reader because I bump into him at the Snow Isle Library out in Arlington from time to time. I know he does home improvement projects because we meet in the aisle with Lowe's Hardware from time to time. But he's actually famous. He's actually mostly famous. Yeah. We're introducing to us one of our fun traditions, right? Which is, man, a lot harder to drop. Aloha Friday. Around Memorial Day every year, Chuck sends out an email inviting everyone to participate in a Friday, casual Friday ritual of donning their favorite Aloha gear. And that lasts until about Labor Day every year, when Melissa forces Aloha Fridays to give way to Blue Fridays. We're now in the Blue Friday season. Great tradition. It's the kind of thing you get from great colleagues and friends at the agency, interjecting a good time, fun, making this a great place for people to come and spend their days. Chuck, absolute pleasure working with you. Thank you for all you've done for 20 years for Community Transit. Thank you.
I'd just like to say that 20 years ago, I was facing an unplanned career change and didn't know where to go or what to do. And a good friend of mine, Merlin Yost, who many of you know, encouraged me to apply for a position as coach operator, which I did. I found a great place to work. It was great, as our distinguished CEO was saying yesterday, great benefits, great pay, but also a very great culture of people who care about each other, who work together to serve our customers, both external and internal. Several years after being a coach operator, Sam Broadland, who is now the supervisor of service planning, who was just an acquaintance at that time, encouraged me to apply for the position of scheduler. He has since become a good friend. He's an outstanding supervisor, and much of my credit for being able to continue in this position is because of his patience with me and continues to mentor me and to teach me. I'm grateful for that, and grateful to the board and for this agency for the opportunity to spend these last 20 years here serving our community and working with all of you. As many people have said, the people at CT are really what makes this such a great place to work, and that's so very true. So thank you, board. Thank you.
on with the agenda.
Excuse me, if I may, one more. We often talk about our pride in the safety culture here at Community Transit, whether we're working on emergency response issues, transit police unit issues, or just trying to get people to wear high visibility vests when they cross the yard. We are thinking safety all the time. I'm going to ask Jerry Beardsley to introduce the Executive Director of the State Transit Insurance Pool, and Tracy will then address the board.
Well, good afternoon. It has been a while, I think, since we talked about the Washington State Transit Insurance Pool. There are 33 transit agencies across the state that are members of that pool. Together, we are insuring our agencies and helping each other to reduce risk, whether it's for automobiles, our buses, our van pools, or employees here. So we last had Tracy here, I think, 2 years ago for the same award that she's going to present today, and I'm really proud to have her here and have her talk about the Safety Star Award that we're going to get presented with. So Tracy, come on up.
Mayor Kelly, thank you so much for letting me be here today. I'm very excited this afternoon to present our highest award, which is an award for your employees' hard work and their dedication to state safety, and that is our Safety Star Award. We implemented this award in 2014, and of the 4 years that we've had it, this is the second time you've won it. So that is an amazing feat. The award recognizes member transit agencies who maintain impressive and stable safety records, basically showcasing the best performing agency of our groups. We use two things to determine this award. We first use our annual risk profiles that we are looking at you in a 5-year look back, but we think that's not often good enough, so we also use our actuarial analysis, which looks at your loss records, in a 10-year look back. So of those two things, you have to be the best of both in order to win this award. And as you can see, you don't always win it. So of the groups that we have, we do break up our members by small, medium, and large. And so that means that you're compared to other agencies of your similar size. Those agencies include Ben Franklin Transit, C-Tran, Intercity Transit, Kitsap Transit, Pierce Transit, and Spokane Transit Authority. So this means your agency is a consistently good performer when it comes to auto liability losses. In fact, I'd say, again, the best performer of your size in this category. You have won this award in 2014, and we're happy to be back here to give it to you again. How you were able to get back on top is that you had to bring your loss rate down in your fixed route by over 9% in frequency and 10% in severity. Besides this beautiful award that we're happy to be here to present, we're also coming with a cash award. And that's because we like to give a cash recognition award to your employees that you can use for employee recognition, because let's face it, the safety that we're talking about is all done by your employees. So on behalf of the entire WSTIP membership, I'm here to give a heartfelt thank you to every driver and mechanic and road supervisor, all the managers, all the administrative staff and employees, and also your volunteer van pool drivers, and all of you as leaders of the organization that has been making vehicle accident safety an important part of your mission. So you are here, I'm here to present $5,000 in this award. Wow. Who would like to accept it? Chair Kelly, would you mind coming and accepting it? Oh, okay. Do you want the, which would you like, the check or the
The award, I don't trust myself. Thank you. Thanks, Tracy.
Can you say a few more?
Yes. While I'm here, though, I hope you don't mind that I also remind you about our Jeffrey S. Risto Scholarship Program. We have been doing that program since Jeffrey retired. This year, we awarded 9 scholarships to transit agency employees seeking higher education throughout the state of Washington, and that includes one of your own employees, Darlene Fritz, who works for your risk department, received a scholarship to help her achieve a certificate in data visualization from the University of Washington. However, we've also assisted other employees across the state seeking IT degrees, master's degrees, and several accounting certificates. And you know Jeff would be very proud of that. One of the other things I wanted to highlight is my pride in the fact that your rodeo team, the maintenance team, took second place at the rodeo this year. Wista's rodeo has a lot of sponsors, but the biggest primary sponsor is the Washington State Transit Insurance Pool. We're proud to be a sponsor of that, and we're really proud of your maintenance team. So thank you so much for continuing your support to the rodeo. That's all I have.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on with the agenda to public comments. Like I said, several people signed up, so I'll call you up in order. And by definite, we have Kathleen Custer. Please just state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Don't start the clock yet. I just want to congratulate everybody. Congratulations. This is a tough thing to have to follow after getting nice awards like that. I'm Kathleen Custer. I am the union president for Amalgamated Transit Union 1576. We are here because after nearly 2 years without a successor agreement, this week, unfortunately, we were forced to hold a vote of no confidence against Emmett Heath for his inability to deliver a fair and reasonable contract. The vote results were as follows. 425 eligible employees could vote, 306 employees voted, 287 voted no confidence of the 306. Only 19 members, 18 members did not agree. That's a 94% vote of no confidence. We did not want to do that. It was the last thing that we wanted to do, and it was a very hard decision to make. But just like you are the voice of the people that elect you in the communities that you serve, we are the voice of our membership. At the beginning of bargaining, we asked our members in all of our classifications, what issues do you want us to negotiate for? They said, among many, they said accident policy, customer comments, coach checkout time, employment of relatives policy, emergency response, the ability to earn more PTO, market adjustments, and several other items. And despite what you may have heard, the union has consistently, from the very beginning of bargaining, narrowed down our focus to the core, most important issues that our membership has brought to us, which you have in front of you in a packet at your seat. In July, we put all of our other proposals aside, and we narrowed it down to the very most important issues and presented CT with a full package. CT took until December, nearly 2 months later, to decline every one of our proposals except wages and how we spend our own uniform allowance. There was absolutely no explanation, and we sat there while the chief negotiator read through decline, 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 which is unacceptable. In case you're hearing that the ATU is stalling negotiations, let me tell you the reality. The reality is CT refused for over a year to allow our executive board, the equivalent of you, time off work to prepare our proposals until they finally had to mediate a settlement so we could get back to work and back to the table. The reality is CT refused to meet with us to discuss the new Washington paid sick leave laws until after they implemented. This resulted in a 4-part unfair labor practice charge. Finally, CT took 2 months to decline our last package proposal without any explanation. These issues are real. These issues are real, and they're brought to us by your employees because we are their voice. They are personal to each one of your employees because every one of them have experienced some effect they've had on them. Now, coming out of the recession after Proposition 1, which the ATU is a part of, got a nice picture with Emmett, we're the healthiest we've ever been. We're expanding service, we're hiring like crazy, and the ATU was out there behind Proposition 1. We were out there phone banking. We were the single highest donor of Proposition 1 with over $10,000 from the ATU. And CT promised that all of the employees at Community Transit, Emmett promised that all of these employees would reap the benefits of the outcome of Proposition 1. Let me give you just a few examples of what these issues are. Emergency response, I'm limited on time, so I'm not going to get into that. Danny's going to address that. Accident policy, we've seen preventable accident judgments skyrocket. The policy is punitive. Drivers are constantly in fear of the point system and the way accidents are judged. CT acknowledges that this policy needs to be updated. We did negotiate the policy, but at the end of the day, there were points that we just could not agree to. We're asking that CT include the union and negotiate this policy to be less punitive and more fair. Customer comments. Currently, we are asking for language in the contract that customer comments that prove to have no misconduct or unsubstantiated are not included in our records, and currently they are. Employment of relatives policy. What constitutes a conflict with regard to the employment of relatives policy? ATU believes that a conflict exists when you have the authority to do things such as hire, fire, promote, discipline, resolve grievances. CT is absolutely unwilling to discuss this. We have had no collaborative discussions on this. We understand that you need to have an employment of relatives policy when you're dealing with public funds, but the reality is it's not being applied evenly. We asked that CT do a market analysis for the other classifications, such as facilities maintenance, and here's why. The jobs they are actually doing do not match their job descriptions, and they are not being compensated for it. They are doing jobs every day that include a premium pay, but they don't qualify for the premium pay because they have to obtain a license. Instead, CT took the information that we gave to them, and they went back and changed their job descriptions to based on the information that we told you. So in closing, I attended Emmett's State of the Agency speech yesterday where he talked about wanting CT to be the best place to work, wanting to recruit people to come and work here and retain them, and that's what we want too. But here's why we are here. We are here for a high seniority member who has 98 points on their accident record for minor accidents who has termination hanging over them. We're here for the employee who had an emergency on the road, and it took 23 minutes to respond to her, and she now does not feel safe and supported. We're here for the employee who feels like driving a bus at Community Transit is a dead-end job because their brother works here. We're here for the employee who's doing work above their pay grade and not being compensated for it. And we're here for the employee who was terminated and in the hearing learned that CT considered a customer complaint in their termination decision, which was called in when the driver wasn't driving the HOV lane, which is not an infraction. So please, Board of Directors, we are asking you, don't tell us, as you have in the past, that you just let staff conduct the daily business. This is your responsibility, and we ask that you hold CT accountable to negotiate these issues that affect our working conditions and your employees. Thank you. Hopefully that was in 3 minutes.
Any kind of applause is really inappropriate, whether either direction. So next up is Danny Julian.
Hello. My name is Danny Julien, and I'm the recording secretary for the ATU. And I also do work for the union, which addresses safety concerns that the members bring to us. And I'm here today to talk to you about emergency response. And I'm actually quite surprised to have to be here addressing you for this issue, because I feel like as far as things go, this should be, fairly low-hanging fruit as far as things that we should be able to get resolved. About 2 years ago, when I started hearing about issues with emergency response on the road, I assumed it was because a lot of new people were being hired and moved around into different positions, and maybe we just needed a review of the policy. And so I requested that in labor management, and the review we requested at that time did not happen. So we kept pushing, and through labor management, a subcommittee was formed. The subcommittee included people from RISC, transit police, operations management, supervisors, dispatchers, coach operators, the union. And at this point, we began to realize in that meeting how outdated the policy actually is. And in fact, I don't know of any time in the last 20 plus years that I've worked here that the policy has actually been updated. So now you know we took it up the chain of command, and what kind of things am I talking about? I'm actually really talking about very, very basic things, like, for example, what happens when I push the silent alarm, the SAT button? What kind of response can I expect out on the road if I have an emergency? And at the State of the Agency address that Emmett gave this week, we had some people bring that very issue up. And after the meeting, I talked to Emmett and I explained to him that this issue is stuff that we hear about almost on a weekly basis. And that it can't really go away until these concerns are addressed to the satisfaction of the people that are out there driving the routes. So I'm just going to read to you within the last 2 weeks some communication that I've received in writing at the union. One operator wrote, "I just had a drunk and disorderly customer and got zero help. I was simply told write an event report." Another person wrote, "I had a passenger verbally assault me and I called it into dispatch. Nothing happened. I don't feel my safety is important." Another person said, "I had an irate passenger that would not calm down. He moved to be right behind me and continued to yell. I felt like calling in would upset him, but pushing the SAT response button is such an unknown that I didn't think it would be useful. Fortunately, it was just words. It might not be next time. It's bad when you decide not to call for help because you don't know if it will help." Now, these are the words of your employees within just the last couple weeks, and I've been hearing this stuff and bringing it to community transit for 2 years. Here are some actual cases that we've been involved in. One operator had a severe assault while on the road and came back to base, and this was a verbal assault. She came back to base to decompress and was told that her reliability award, she would not be earning the reliability award, and that she was being docked PTO for coming back to base. She was also assigned to do coach exchanges while she was back at base, which kind of defeats the purpose of decompressing, and we had to fight through the grievance process so that she didn't end up being financially penalized for being assaulted. Another operator was on I-5 and had one passenger assaulting another on the bus. He was in rush hour traffic. He pushed the SAT button, and he was paged so continually while he was trying to get from the HOV lane to the shoulder of the road that he had to take the phone and put it up on the dash.
30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. I could go on. I have several more examples, but I'll just leave it there. But this is the perception and the reality. It doesn't need to be this way. In our proposal, we put our heads together and we offered CT something that's really fair, that involves the union and works together to fix this problem. And so we're asking you, Board of Directors, take the step that nobody else has been willing to take and insist that community transit update their emergency response procedure and involve the employees who do the work. Thank you.
Next up, John Saint.
They take it, but I got a bad leg. Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is John Sains. I'm the Financial Secretary Treasurer of ATU 1576 and a 16-year employee of this company. I stand before you today thoroughly disgusted. A few years back, a new CEO was selected. He came before the company to declare that he wanted to improve relations between labor and management. He also told those assembled that the days of 2+ year negotiations were a thing of the past. It took very short time to confirm my suspicions that the only difference between our new CEO and the previous one was the clothing they wore. Our openly anti-union CEO seems to be no different than our current one, previous to current. The round of negotiations currently between the ATU and CT began as the other three that I have witnessed. This, by the way, is my fourth. ATU proposes, CT declines. Our first proposal to CT contained 49 issues that our members wanted to have addressed. I'm understanding you folks were told it was over 100. That was not the case. CT's first counter contained 46 declines. The only 3 they agreed to were all useless language changes, such as changing vacation time to PTO. Over the past 27.5 months since the contractual start, we propose, CT declined. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Most egregious of CT's actions was changing their December 2017 proposal on Washington paid sick leave when they re-presented it in March of 2018. This resulted in a 4-part ULP being filed against the company, most notably for regressive bargaining. I would mention that we are told that the CEO has said there are over 3 dozen tentative agreements signed. That's not true. Close, but not true. 23 have been signed. Most of those are, again, language changes. As expected, the negotiating team the CEO sent to the table has no power to make a decision. We have invited and requested the CEO to sit at the table. He has declined to do so. But he is the final decision maker. Guess he doesn't want to get his hands dirty. I understand Mr. Heath is angry with the union. The feeling is mutual. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Rick Jerkovich.
Greetings, I'm Rick Yurkovich, Vice President, ATU 1576, Everett, Washington. First thing I want to tell you is we're not your enemy, we're your friend. Michael Todd and I worked on the phone banks trying to get Proposition 1. We were the last one there. We care about what's happening and what's happening to this agency and what's happening to our employees, who happen to be more than half of the employees that work here. What's wrong with another set of eyes? Anybody can tell me? I don't know. Whenever management and labor come together at a meeting of minds, it's inevitable that they're going to have 2 different points of view. The problem that exists is that management's view, with the management view, they create the policies. And they're not interested in us being involved in being a part of that process. It's either, it comes, how we hear it, my way or the highway. That's how we hear it. We want to participate in negotiating an accident policy that is fair and just. The accident policy is punitive. Maybe our next button, maybe you see our buttons, our next button should say 4 on the floor and you're out the door. A coach operator's job was saved last year because President Custer was able to persuasively argue the definition of a verifiable accident, or injury rather. If a driver has hit the brakes because a car cuts in front of them and 4 passengers hit the floor, the driver gets 15 points for driver error and 25 points for each claim of injury. That's over 100 points. That operator's job is done in 1 day. Gary Krause, a million-mile driver, was terminated for such an accident. Gary was pulling out of a swift zone at State Route 99 and 148th. A car in the lane to his left cut him off, cutting over to fill up with the Safeway gas station or whatever he's doing. It was a minimal amount of damage to that car, but a passenger fell on the floor. So he got 15 points for driver error. He got 25 points for the injury. He got 25 points. His point total exceeded the accident policy, and he was terminated. All we're asking is to be involved in the formation of a policy that our members must live under that is fair and equitable. What's wrong with the union being included in the formation of an emergency response protocol? If anybody can tell me, what would be wrong with that? The union needs to be notified appropriately when an event occurs and be included in a debrief. discussion of what went on and what could have been done better. Recently, one of our drivers was run off the road in Stanwood. President Custer learned about this accident on Facebook when another driver posted the accident from what the news had on TV and posted that. This is unacceptable. The past year, we represented a driver who was medically separated for post-traumatic stress syndrome. She was assaulted by a passenger who threw urine on her. The union didn't know about the assault until we investigated. Among the things we discovered was that she had been asked to pose for a picture in the driver's seat where the urine was thrown. This is unacceptable. If we had been involved in a debrief, we could identify what could have been done better for the safety of our membership. I'm on the last page here.
We're at 4 minutes. It's a 3-minute time.
No, I skipped a page. I take it back. Okay, I'll skip that page. We won't talk about, we'll go right to the very end here. I attended 3 of the CEO meetings with CT employees this week. He talked about how we delivered on all of CT's promises. And one member happened to ask him, what happened to your promise? And it wasn't part of Proposition 1, it was the promise of being a CTO. What happened to the promise that you would deliver on a quicker contract and let's get things moving with the ATU, et cetera? And that was a good question. Well, we had a 94% vote, so I think you know how the members feel about that. There's more on this page, but I'm not going to be able to say it.
Next is David Thompson.
Okay, my name's David Thompson. I am a C2 driver. I've been here for only 27 years. I'm chief shop steward, and a vote of no confidence was held October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. This was not an undertaking we considered lightly. Membership has only done something like this once before, about 20 years ago. Turnout was very high, at 72%. Of 425 members, 306 voted. The no confidence measure passed by a whopping 94%, 287 yes to 19 no. That's a 67% approval rating out of the total membership number. That's a landslide by anybody's measure. What does this mean? It means that the members have seen what's going on and are worried about their safety on the job and their job security. I was there at the polls all 3 days, and the 2 concerns I just mentioned were foremost on just about everyone's mind. I heard over and over how unfair the accident policy was. I heard over and over how unfair the customer comments policy was. I heard over and over how the emergency response system is at best inadequate and at worst appalling. Senior dispatchers, who are the people who are the lifeline for the drivers, were expressing embarrassment at how this very vital support for the drivers in the field has deteriorated. Benjamin Franklin once said, out of adversity comes opportunity. The membership of ATU 1576 have taken the adversity of this disdain for their interests and used it as an opportunity to express their solidarity and their support. They hope that Emmett Heath and his staff will use the adverse feedback they have just received as a fresh opportunity to address those interests. Thank you.
For your comments. Next we have Peter Maka.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Peter Mikett, so you pronounce it, and I'm a
come to you as a tax-paying citizen. And after hearing what I just heard, what this the union and the company's going through, it's shocking because I voted for Prop 1, and I realized how important transportation is here in this area, and I'm directed to the mission statement of providing a safe, reliable, and enjoyable public transit experience each and every time. Yet I hear from the union that what they're challenged, the drivers are challenged with is kind of creates conflict in my mind for a passenger to drive a bus and know what's going on, what has happened. So the only thing I can support you and do and to make this company move forward and make the decisions necessary to keep that moving forward is actually approve what the contract that the ATU's proposed. Thank you.
That is the last of people that have signed up to speak under the comments. Is there anyone else like? Seeing none, we'll move on with the agenda. Committee reports. And the first one we have is executive committee, and that is me. So on the executive committee Thursday, September 20th, it was a historic meeting because the staff reported on the CEO's activities. And Emmett will provide an update later in the meeting. The committee received an update on labor negotiations during executive session, and the next executive committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 18th at 3 p.m. at the board conference room. Finance committee. Councilmember Ryan.
Thank you. The Finance, Performance, and Oversight Committee met on Thursday, September 20th. Councilmembers Jan Schweddy, Mike Todd, Joe Nigel, and I attended. Our standard reports are as follows. Sales tax report. For August, community transit collected $12.9 million in sales tax revenue, approximately $613,000 more than the amended 2018 budget. Diesel fuel report. In August, community transit paid an average of $2.27 per gallon compared to the 2018 budget amount of $2 per gallon. Mary Albert continues to monitor the fuel budget for the year, and based on the current number of gallons purchased to date, anticipates there will be adequate funds without needing to use the agency's fuel reserve funds. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 18th at 3:30 p.m. And the board workshop is scheduled on October 25th, which will include a presentation on the 2019 proposed budget. Oh, and then, I'm sorry, I missed this one. So on the consent agenda today, it includes the August payroll and monthly expenditures, items B through M on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along to the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee. Councilmember Wright.
Thank you. We met on Wednesday, September 19th. In attendance was Mayor Erling, Mayor Kelly, Councilmember Todd, Labor Representative Norton, and myself. Today we had no action items, no consent calendar items, but we do have one informational item. The staff reviewed upcoming work program for the committee and presented a compelling overview of the significant changes coming to our county and our agency as we respond to growth and prepare for light rail implementation in 2024. Looking forward to the new scope that this committee covers, so that was a lot of our discussion, so it looks like a great format and we're looking forward to it. We did make one change. We formerly met at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays. We are now moving that to 3 p.m., which makes our next meeting Wednesday, October 17th at 3 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along the consent calendar. Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Action items. We have none to be brought before the board today, so we'll move on to the chair's report. So, workshop is scheduled for Thursday, October 22nd, as Councilmember Ryan reported, with our topics including the 2019 budget, Orange Line feasibility, and Orca lift. And our next board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November 1st. I'd also like to report on the APTA annual conference that I was able to attend back in Nashville here a couple of weeks ago. And just have a few short takeaways I'd like to share with the board and the staff. And went to several workshops, and one of them was homelessness and transportation. And a lot of it didn't pertain to us because these were a lot of rail facilities or facilities that were open all night long. And that made me think of light rail coming to Linwood, and that facility is going to be open. But it was more centrally, the topics were around those types of facilities. But they did share one thing I thought was interesting, pertained to us, and not just in transportation, but I think in all aspects of our life in dealing with homeless people. And that they discovered that there is a negative feeling amongst riders and passengers that are not homeless when they have homeless people on the system. But if they've encouraged their employees, the drivers or the maintenance staff, whoever, to address them with respect and talk about them as people who are homeless or people who are down on their luck, and humanize the issues that they're going through instead of just calling them homeless or other things that are called, that it actually improved the general feeling of the riders, the regular everyday passengers that were using it for commuting instead of other reasons. So, and I've thought a lot about that, and thought, well, you know, that's something I want to share here. Our drivers, when they're discussing someone on the bus or if someone gets off or addressing someone, they do, and they probably do, but I just thought that was an interesting take on it, and that's something we could share in every aspect, especially those of us as elected officials, when we're talking about this epidemic that's nationwide, because for 33,000 homeless people in Los Angeles, city of Los Angeles, over 50,000 homeless people in LA County, and it's, you know, an epidemic nationwide. So it was just something struck home that I wanted to share. 2 years ago, I reported after one of these conferences that we're talking about Uber and Lyft being competition and all the competition we had out there, and how we need to deal with it, address it. Well, now we have transit agencies that are partnering with Uber and Lyft for first and last mile, and they're looking for ways to integrate and work together. Where I remember was, wow, this is the competition. So now it's part of the whole transit big picture. And there was one workshop that I attended, and I didn't see any of our staff in there, and it's good that you weren't in there. Because they asked, the facilitators asked the staff in there, how many of you have innovative boards? And out of 2 people in there, 3 people raised their hand. So I'm, you know, where you want to, what? Where you want to? Well, no, I'm a board member. That would be inappropriate for me to answer that. Okay. So, but I just wanted the staff, and so it was just, that's how the staff perceived their board. But I know we have a very innovative, forward-thinking board here. And then, you know, I know it was a few years ago we were talking about autonomous vehicles, and, you know, well, that's new, and, you know, is that really going to happen? Well, there are now 50 different transit agencies around the country using autonomous vehicles as part of their you know, their daily operations. And in a rather large room, someone said that within 4 years, we could possibly see drone taxis somewhere at some point in the country. And I just thought, wow, you know, now drone taxis. But then to get to simpler modes of transportation, and I just saw before I left that Seattle was talking about these electric scooters instead of the bikes. And it was really kind of fascinating that, you know, they have the bike shares there and they have these electric scooters all over the place. Anyway, we had a little video.
Oh. Now I could go for one of those.
So, you have Leonard.
Well, Leonard's in this photo. I don't have Leonard on the scooter. I think he's paying for it.
Yeah, so I walked out of the meeting, I'm looking at one of these scooters, and then a gentleman walks up to me and he goes, "Can you show me how to run this?" Come to find out, this was someone, his name was Hugh, known him for quite some time. And so it took us 15 minutes to figure out how to download the app. And because you've got the app on your phone, and you scan the scooter, and you unlock it, you put some money in a bank, and it's 15 cents a minute for riding these scooters. And people are using them all over the place, putting them around town. So they're encouraging people to take transit into town. And then you have the scooters or the bikes or options to get around. And I really enjoyed it. They were quite efficient. You had the app on your phone. You walked out of the hotel, and it would tell you where a scooter was, so you could walk right up to it and you know, scan it, and off you go. And so I was so impressed with it. And being one who, you know, likes to say I walk the walk after talking the talk, I bought a scooter. Rolled another one of these, and
Can we see a video of that?
I had videos, but I'm so glad you brought that up, Jerry, because I brought that scooter with me today.
Oh, yeah.
And any board member or staff member who would like to give it a try out of the parking lot after the meeting, you know, and I'm going to challenge you first, Jerry, since you wrote that with your mouth.
That won't happen.
Take a ride on the scooter.
He's ready.
I think we should lock up the glass block and the $5,000 before. Because she's taking notes, and this is there board members injured category thing?
So board members and staff are welcome to give it a try after the meeting. Got it out of my car, pulls up, and I took it to the farmer's market last Friday, and it was a huge success anyway. So that's the end of my chair's report. I move on to Steve. Yes.
Mr. Chair, I was wondering when I saw you in the parking lot what that Aflac duck was doing. Now I know.
Enough act to follow.
Yeah.
Thank you. We've continued a very high level of outreach and engagement in the community, variety of events, interests, and activities. I won't review those, but there are a couple of note. The State Legislature Joint Transportation Committee will be on tour, including a visit up here. The Joint Transportation Committee was formed in 2005. It's staffed by the chairs and ranking members of the House and Senate Transportation Committees, some of their legislative colleagues, and some of their staff. Their job is to go around the state and reconnoiter transportation issues and bring that knowledge back and support the legislature then in its deliberations. The tour is scheduled for October 10th, and towards the end of that day will include a stop at the Port of Everett, where we will join in that conversation. I'm invited to represent our agency as a panelist and have a presentation prepared for the JTC on our activities in Snohomish County. We'll be doing that in collaboration with some other partners, the Port, of course. We've also suggested that Everett Transit could participate, and I expect they will be there as well. Another event coming November 1st is the North Puget Sound Small Business Summit. I've reported on this in prior years. I think this is probably the 4th summit. I was looking for Kunjan Dayal in the audience. I don't see Kunjan, but you saw him riding the scooter. He has other talents. One of those 4 years ago was he actually conceived of the idea of establishing a small and disadvantaged business summit in Snohomish County. there's a big event like that in King County, and you find them in other large urban areas, but prior to that, Snohomish County had not had a small and disadvantaged business summit opportunity. It's been wildly successful. We immediately partnered with the Economic Alliance in Snohomish County, transitioned our original leadership role to the EASC. Patrick Pierce has done a marvelous job taking the lead and continuing to grow that conference. It's very well attended. I expect it will be again this year, and once again I'll be participating in some keynote and panel activities to promote small and disadvantaged business in the county. Public affairs, I also was looking for one of my colleagues, Jam Young Georgie Inkar. Jam Young is a community relations specialist here at Community Transit, and he was selected by the Everett School District to fill a vacant seat on the Everett School District Board. So Dr. Cohn and myself have had some fun conversations and jousting, but we're both very, very pleased to have Jam Young join the board of the Everett School District. Recent service change, we're very proud that our Blue Line returned from 12-minute headways to 10-minute headways. Another notable project, the State Department of Transportation is underway building what we call hard shoulder running capacity on I-5 southbound from the Linwood Transit Center to the Mountain Lake Terrace Transit Center. In that section of the freeway, the HOV lane southbound is on the inside lane. What this feature will do, if you get a mental image of this, you're driving southbound on Interstate, if you're in a bus, one of our operators driving southbound Interstate 5 on the HOV lane, they'll be able to exit on the Linwood Transit Center direct access ramp, use that ramp to bypass congested, slow, or stopped traffic in the HOV lane. That direct access ramp is about a mile from start to finish, so they get a 1 mile queue jump around the traffic. When they exit back onto I-5, then they'll exit onto the new hard shoulder running surface. They will not have to merge back into the regular HOV lane, which is going 5 miles an hour. So we'll gain the advantage of running on the shoulder down to Mount Lake Terrace, where we'll use the direct access ramps at Mount Lake Terrace to jump another mile of frequently standing traffic. So it's a nice feature for us. It will help improve speed and reliability for our commuters using that route. The work is underway, and WashDOT expects to complete that, I think, near the end of October this year. And I want to, next item regarding our state audit, I want to thank Council Members Shweti, Daughtry, and Todd for attending the State Auditor's Exit Conference on this year's state audit. Most notably, they heard the auditors announce that our staff has achieved a record 23rd consecutive year of clean audits. More of my colleagues than I can name contribute to an accomplishment like that. Two stand out, Lori for her leadership, and Catherine Rasmussen. Neither Lori nor Kathy are here. Tremendous leaders. They do a lot of hard work, and they're good leaders. They work really well with the auditors to work through that audit, and the relationship, the partnership with the state auditor's office is an important part of how well we work together with them. So congratulations to staff all over the agency for that accomplishment. Lastly, I just completed a round of informational meetings with all of the employees of our company. It included 6 meetings in various locations around the company where at a high level, I shared with them information about results that have been achieved in the immediate past, the significant initiatives that are underway presently, what their status and progress has been on those. But then I think the most exciting part, the third chapter, was the activities we'll be undertaking in the future. The build out of a high-capacity transit line network of high-capacity transit lines moving people around within the county. The second piece of that is connecting that high-capacity transit line to Link Light Rail when it arrives in 2024. Connectivity at link stations will include Shoreline in our county, Shoreline at 185th, Mount Lake Terrace, the Linwood City Center Station. So by the time you put together the ability to move around our own county on a network of high-capacity transit lines, connect those lines to so many nodes on regional light rail, I continue to believe that in 2024 we'll look at that network and it will truly be transformational for the whole county, but perhaps no place more so than in Councilmember Wright's backyard. It's going to be huge in the south and southwest county, I think. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmett. Moving on to board communication, I'll start with Representative Lansford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know it's been difficult times recently here. I want this board to know that I like each and every one of you, and I respect each and every one of you. And you know, I spent my entire adult life involved in public transit, and I continue to learn all the time. It's difficult at times to understand the pressure that rank and file can put on elected officials in the union. They are basically, as all of you on this board know, because you each run for election. And there are things that are important to each and every one of you. Because where you are and who you represent, they, of course, are your constituents. And when the union puts out questionnaires approaching contract time, they do ask for what is important to you. Well, naturally, money is important to each and every one of us. We have families, we have responsibilities. But there are other issues that come to the union. I used to say when I was in office down in Metro, when the executive board would do their going out to the members and asking and having them fill out forms, what is important, and bring them to me. And we had so many different classifications, so many that I didn't know about. I drove a bus for 36 years, but I didn't know what, facilities did, power and facilities did, pass sales, all these other classifications. And so I would need to get assistance from those representatives of those classifications to explain it to me. But the other issues, I would say, for example, they would bring back what the employees said to them was important. And so I would, for example, in transit operators, there'd be a list of, let's say, 24. And I'd say to that representative, good, you got 24 items. He'd say, yeah, these are really important. I said, good, we have another meeting in 2 weeks. Come back with half of that. What do you mean half of that? I said, I want half of them that you consider really important, that we can perhaps negotiate, get somewhere, get something. Okay, grumbling and mumbling as they left, because each one was given those instructions. 2 weeks came, and without continuing this huge odyssey that went on, do it again. I can't do it again. Yes, you can. Let's come down with the priority issues. We here at Community Transit, both sides, it's difficult. It really is. But I think we're reaching a point where I get a little nervous when I hear some of the more, how do you say it, being kind, radicals come up with some great ideas. It's like, yeah, but this ain't gonna solve anything. Well, we need to get a reporter here at the meeting. We need to do informational picketing. We need to have sit-down. We need to have this. We need to have, which most cases gets nothing accomplished. All that it gets accomplished is animosity, anger, feelings of betrayal on both sides. I know it's difficult. This is a nice, really comfortable transit agency, and you know how I feel about it. I try to be a gentleman. Both sides, I get worn out sometimes, but I know it's difficult. I'm almost begging you find a time. There's a number of issues that don't really have a cost factor. There isn't like, oh my God, this is going to. Put that aside. I think that's not an issue as far as that goes. I'm thinking. But the ones that really don't come down to being a cost factor, but how it's being done needs to be revised, because I think there's significant unrest from a lot of the transit operators in a few particular areas. I won't continue talking. As I said, I'm kind of caught in the middle. I like everybody here. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I do. I respect the staff. I respect all of you. Good people. Let's see what we can get done.
Mayor Early?
Mr. Chairman, I hope that Mr. Nearing will comment on a very successful vote that was taken today in Edmonds, Washington. It's always sunny here, too. But John, if you intend to speak to it, I wish you would. But John should be congratulated on what he'll talk about for his leadership. Really pulled something off today that was important to our county. So I'll leave the rest to you.
No report.
I don't want to get her in the way after that teaser. So.
No, me too.
Oh, go ahead. Thank you, Mayor Erling. Yeah, we after a long journey with our comm centers, SNOCOM and SNOPAC merged last year, and the goal had always been to merge the spine of our emergency system in, which was SIRS, and so we've had lengthy negotiations over that throughout 2018, and looked like we didn't have the votes a few months ago, but we actually got a unanimous vote to merge those agencies for today's SIRS board meeting. Mayor's kind, but there was a lot of people involved, including people that aren't on the board, like Mayor Erling and Mayor Franklin and Executive Summers and others in this room who came together and really tried to bring all our parties together and address all the issues that were out there. So I do think it's a huge step forward for public safety in our community and for the taxpayers to combine all three agencies. Just the comm centers combining alone has saved over $500,000 this year. And so when we're going out for a measure like the one that we are, it's important we show the taxpayers we're using that money wisely. And I should mention that the county council unanimously sent that sales tax vote out for the new emergency radio system, and the county council's support was very critical to this, as well as when people saw that unanimous support, provided momentum as well. So anyway, thank you.
Yes, I just want everyone to know how much I enjoyed John Nearing's report.
Thank you. So we will adjourn to an executive session to discuss the labor negotiations. Take about 10 minutes. Thank you.
I guess I assumed that was it. So I assumed I wasn't.
We're back in session. Business related corporation.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request that we work through you and our city attorney to draft a letter to respond to some of the comments that we heard today from some of the public testimony. That's a motion.
Second.
We have a motion. Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. See nothing else come before the board. The meeting is adjourned, and I will go get the scooter.
Everybody's.
No, I gotta play football.
We're not board members.
Okay.
Likewise.
Women in dresses are excused.
Condemnation for that.
Thank you. Or more. Absolutely, no, I'd much rather have plants. This looks like change. I can't lose this.
High time, as you know, to get.
Doing all these like.
We got